Storms sounds ominous. Just how serious could they be, and what will they be?
Well, thanks, Dom. I do think the market's facing three storms here. I do think they will pass. The first of these is the Fed. We've had a lot of talk recently from Fed governors about tapering. I do think they'll be taking a very tempered and measured approach. I don't think investors need to be too concerned about Fed policy here. It will shift a bit, but still will be supportive. The second of these is inflation. It remains in the headlines. I do think inflation readings will be above the Fed's 2% target for some time. However, I think we're past peak inflation, and so that should remove that concern, and that storm should pass as well. And the last is the one that I think investors are really focused on here, which is COVID. We saw the Michigan sentiment data decline pretty significantly last week, and we've started to see some effect on real-time economic data from the COVID variant, whether that is in hotel and airlines, restaurants, things like that are starting to cool down just a bit at the margin. The good news is we're coming from a place of strength. The economy is running very strong, and I think we can weather that storm as well as we pass through the Delta variant.
Which of the three, in your mind, could have the biggest market impact, the most, I guess, the biggest drawdown that could happen if things start to really go wrong?
I think from COVID, I don't think we're going to have any major surprises from the Fed. They've been very clear in communication. And again, I'm not terribly concerned about inflation here. The numbers are on the table, and I think we're past peak. But I do think if Delta gets worse than folks expect, I do think if it goes on longer, and if these economic impacts start to snowball a bit, investors could have a bit of a surprise, a bit of a rocky road in the next couple weeks or months.
We haven't seen a significant pullback for the better part of a year, maybe even more at this point. How big of a pullback could any of those storms really take the market? Are we talking that 3 to 5% that we've grown accustomed to? Could we see another 10 to 15%? Could we see another 30-some% drawdown like we saw during the pandemic lows?
I think somewhere in the middle ground there. As you mentioned, we've come a long way. Stocks are priced pretty fairly here, although we are optimistic for next year. I don't think it would be unusual to see what we would call normal correction of 5 to 10%. Mostly on the basis of some of that change in sentiment, whether it's Michigan or the San Francisco Fed's news sentiment survey. Sentiment's turning a little bit here. Bearish readings have picked up in the bull bear surveys. So I do think we could have a bit of a pullback, but the underlying support is still there for growth going forward. So I think it would be in that middle range of correction.